Hi everyone, welcome to eLearnChat, where you always learn something new. I am Rick Zanotti, and I'm joined today by my good friend and co-host, Leslie Price. She is joining us from just outside London. And how are you doing today, Leslie?
I'm good. It's very, very wet, very, very rainy,
Still raining.
and it's voting day. It's our general election
Oh, that's
in the
right.
UK.
That's
So
right.
I'm
This is
very delighted to be on eLearnChat because I've had enough of politics.
yeah, politics are just a wonderful thing. Um,
Yeah.
and Leslie's also with www.learnappeal.com. I think we're showing that right now. And Learn Appeal is a great charity. If you have not taken a look at it, please do so. I think you'll enjoy what they do and their mission, which is, one of those few charities that actually does good work, that actually really gets out there and doesn't just take money, actually applies it to good things. So we're impressed. It's a great charity, and Leslie is pretty much a chief cook and bottle washer. She runs it. It's
Yep,
her
that's it.
passion, and she does a great job. So also with us today is Harold Muliati. He is running the video switcher and mixer. So here we go. This show is sponsored by Relate Corporation at www.relate.com, your training and video partner.
Hello, I'm Peter Baker. Please visit voiceovermasterclass.com to see details of the training courses I have on offer for new and existing voice talents to further their career by enhancing voice and technical skills, as well as essential marketing tips.
And we are back, and joining us in that center position of power, good friend Yves Riel. He is with Xunto, and he just came out with a new software product called Xunto, and he'll be showing that in a minute. Yves has, I've known him now, I guess he said since 2011. We met at one of the trade shows. Actually, we met through a joint friend, Leva Weimeis, who introduced us. And Yves is a great guy. He and I both share a common interest. We're kindred souls when it comes to martial arts. And we find more and more people as we bring them into this show that are also martial artists. We had Amy Morissette on recently. She's got a second-degree black belt in Tang Soo Do. You've got an advanced belt in Shotokan Karate. I've been doing martial arts
exactly.
for
Yes.
ages. Yeah, and we've been doing it for a long time, and it's fun. It's just a lot of fun, and I would think we drive Leslie crazy talking about all this. But Yves, you've been a long time You're an e-learning consultant. You've been working for a long time in the field. You're a developer.
Mm-hmm.
What made you get into the world of developing software for yourself?
It started, I guess, in 2009, something like that. I mean, I used to work for a big company that was producing flight simulators, and one of the department in that company did training. So this is basically how I got into the training business. And as soon as I got there, I mean, I saw a lot of needs from the different instructional designers and the different people. And I decided to create a tool to help them do their work. So that's basically how I got in the field. I really liked it. And at some point, I even started creating for myself widgets for Captivate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we met. I mean, at the 2011 Learning Summit, where I was actually presenting how to build widgets in Captivate.
I remember that one.
But that's like most of us, that when one of the things that I tend to ask people when they come onto this show is, how did you get involved? And 99% of the people say it was by accident. It wasn't a deliberate career choice. It just kind of happened. I came across it. And I say, with the charity work that I do, one of the things we want to help do, which I'm hoping that people will get inspiration from you today, is that, there are careers out there for new people starting in the industry, no matter what their background is, whether it be from school, from university, or already working in another field. This is a huge industry and it's growing.
And the thing is that once you're in, you're hooked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's fun about it is it combines so many different elements of other things, whether it's programming, media, video, audio, music. There's a lot of different elements. Not to mention nowadays we're getting more and
Yeah.
more into neurophysiology, neuropsychology, and all the other fun things. So there's a ton of stuff we can be doing with this, and that's, I think, part of what makes it so much fun, that we can do a lot of stuff. Now, Yves, is your background as an engineer originally? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I
Yeah,
studied
okay.
in mechanical engineering, and I actually did a master degree in aerospace. And the funny
Interesting.
part is that I basically never worked in that field. It was always more related to computer science than it is actually engineering.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. You had the
Yeah,
same
Well,
interest I see. I told
my
you.
son, yeah, my son also did a master's in mechanical engineering, and he now works in consultancy and spends an awful lot of time on project management and finance.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was going to school, I was majoring in chemical engineering with kind of my other interest was I wanted to get into aerospace like you did originally. And that's the time, this is late 70s, well, actually about mid 70s, and they were laying off engineers everywhere here. And we went, maybe I don't want to be an engineer. So I wound up switching into business administration with a minor in IT systems. So it was similar to what I was doing, just a little bit different approach. But they're great fields. And I know a lot of engineers like you and like your son, Leslie, who are not engineers anymore. No, so they don't work as engineers. They work in all sorts
Yeah.
of different fields. But I think what engineering gives you is rigor. You get that rigor
Yeah,
so that you can
absolutely.
apply that to anything you do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, it's not the field itself. It's like you learn how to approach problem and solve them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you are a very good programmer. I've seen Xunto and what you've done with it. Did you want to show us a little bit of tell us a little bit about what Xunto does and maybe show us a little bit of what it does? I think people would love to see it.
Yeah, sure. Actually, it was a big hit when we demonstrated it in DevLearn. But I don't. You probably remember. I mean, Ian, who was working with me,
Yes.
came on your show presenting and kind of a beta version of Xunto 2 years ago. And what we did in those last 2 years, that we kind of rewrote the entire software.
Oh, wow.
And we added a lot more features to it, and it's much better than it was 2 years ago. And one of the things that when Jan showed it to you, I mean, one of the missing thing was the export and the fact that you could basically you could not have a team together. I mean, everybody had the same privilege, also the same roles. So what we did, we rewrote it from the ground up, and now, I mean, it's really built for team and collaboration. So every member in the team has different roles and can do different thing in the tool.
Good.
So I can definitely show it to you if you're interested. So I'm going to
think that'd be
share my
great.
screen. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Feel free to interrupt me at any point. Basically, I mean, like I was saying, I mean, Xunto is a project-based system, and every project starts with a team, and in that team, people have different roles. So, for example, in that screen, we see that I have 5 members in that team, and someone is a project manager. Basically, he can do everything in the tool. Another one is Chris, is the ID instructional designer. So he can do pretty much everything except invite people into the project, but he has the right to basically structure the project. So he's the one going to create the curriculum and assign the different storyboards to the curriculum. Then we have the content developer that will fill in what the ID created. I mean, entering text, images, sounds, narration. They can do that, and you can invite customer and SME to work along with you. So at least you have the entire team in the tool ready to collaborate. what we have also in that tool, I mean, Xunto is a little bit more than a storyboarding tool. It's also, I mean, we wanted to tackle some of the problems that kind of plagues the storyboarding world. I mean, one of them is actually managing the process. I mean, sometimes you have storyboards that you don't know why are stuck in limbo, and you want to figure out why. So we kind of also created these different these different tools. For example, in that specific view, you have all the different storyboards that are in progress, and some are completed. And if you want to see why one is in progress for a long time, you can even go and check out, okay, what are the different assignments that are in that specific storyboard? What are the comments that are still unresolved? So at least it gives you an overview of what's happening in the storyboard, and a PM can actually act on it. So he sees, for example, in that specific storyboard, Jody has an open comment, but she also has 4 different tasks. So you know who's lagging behind, and you can actually go and talk to Jody and figure out what's going on. And something that we wanted to do also is that in the tool, we wanted everybody to be able to know what their work are, and the different conversation that they are having in the tool. For example, I mean, this is the task board that everybody can has in their dashboard. Basically, you can assign stuff to people, and they can see it here, and they can actually navigate in response. They can see all the different conversation that they had in the tool, and either navigate there or answer straight from this specific views. And if they want to, also they can go and see what they did in the previous days. So sometimes you want to see, okay, what did I work 2 days ago on? And then you can go back in the calendar and see, okay, on that date I worked on that. So that's pretty much the program management portion of it. But what's really interesting to most people definitely is the designing of the curriculum. So in that view, you can actually start designing your curriculum. So for example, if I want to have a structure, kind of a course, and under the courses modules, and under the modules lessons, then you can design that in that view, and you can start reordering them the way you want. And once you're done, you can assign storyboards to them. So for example, if I create a new lesson here, I say lesson A, okay, and in my curriculum, sometimes I don't want to storyboard everything, because it's not every item in my curriculum that needs to be storyboarded. So I can pick and choose what I want to storyboard, and then I can assign them storyboards. So once the instructional designer has done this work and figure out the curriculum that he wants to work on, then everybody will start working on the storyboards view. So you see in that view, basically you have on your left side, you have the curriculum that the ID worked on, and it kind of acts as a filter. So if I want to focus on specific, for example, a specific module, then it shows me only the storyboards for that specific module. And I can change their status. I can say they are in progress, completed. And the real storyboarding aspect is basically here. So what we did is kind of akin to PowerPoint. I mean, in PowerPoint you have slides. In our application we call them pages, but it's really like PowerPoint. So you're creating slides and you're adding content to it. And something that we didn't want to do is that some of the attempt that people previously did for a storyboarding tool were basically to create templates that people would fill out. But the problem with templates is that it's good for one specific activity, but not necessarily for all the activities that you're going to create. So what we did instead is that we allow people to create pages, okay? And basically these pages are kind of a blank slate. And from there you decide to add the different blocks of content that are required to create your activity. For example, if I have a very simple activity, it's only an on-screen text and an image, so I can go up and drag the on-screen text block, and I drag the media request block. If it's something a little bit more elaborate where I need to have narration, then I drag the the narration block in there. And if it's even more complex than that, then I need to describe the way we sync images with narration and so on. Then I can start and dragging a production note, and you start filling out the content, and then it becomes your storyboard, and that storyboard is very specific to the activity that you have designed. And typically, you also want in a storyboard, you want basically to have a representation, a mock-up of your storyboard. So in our tool, you have basically two ways of doing it. I mean, some people like to draw the activity on a whiteboard or maybe on a piece of paper. Then you can maybe take an image of that and upload it to our tool. Or if you really want to, we have integrated also a kind of a third-party graphic editor. So what you can do, you can start actually designing and using shapes and designing basically the prototype of your activity. For example, I can start adding text, so I can move it around, and once I'm ready, I can save it, and you'll see that it will appear here. So you see, that gives you basically the idea of how you can build a storyboard inside Xunto. The nice part is that each of these blocks basically have kind of hidden powers, if you want to. Let me just remove that page. Oops, sorry, I'm going to remove the page instead. And I'm going to show you one page that's already created. So you see in that page what I did, I did drag what we called a graphic request block, a media request. So as an ID, probably what I did is I started describing the type of images that I needed. So I said, okay, I need an image of a dog and an owl flying, and I started describing what I want. If I want to, I can also add links. For example, I did a quick Google search. I put the link in there that acts as a reference material. And once I'm done with it, in my team, I know who's creating the different graphics. So I did assign it to Jody. And what happens is that Jody receives an email, and she will also see in her dashboard that she has a task that needs to be taken care of, which is a media request. So she comes in here and she starts reading the description. She's looking at the reference material. If it's not clear, she can actually engage with the ID and start asking questions. So there's this back and forth between them. And when they figure out exactly what needs to be produced, then Jody works on it, and then she can come back later on and she can actually upload the final material inside the tool. So which means that when we actually enter in production, I mean, the images are already there and they have been properly created, and the ID knows that these are the images that he wants inside the activity.
Well, that's really nice, Yves. And so this is actually designed so if you have a remote team where some people may be in one location, others, they can still collaborate and write the storyboards together. That's actually pretty darn cool.
Yeah, I was going to say it's all in one place, and all the conversations and the project management and everything. It's so instead of go on to such and such an app to do this, or go on and look, you go into Slack, go into Google Docs, go into this, go into that, then design it in the storyboard. So instead of going into 3 different places, everything's in the same place. That just makes so much sense to me.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to do, because I mean, a lot of people waste time, especially when they're ready for production. I mean, they have everything in the Word or PowerPoint, but then when they go in, wants to start a production, I mean, the final images are maybe somewhere in a drive, and worse than that, people necessarily don't use source control. So it's image underscore V1, image underscore V2. Okay, which one do I take?
Yeah.
Which one is the real one? So at least here, I mean, everything is in there and ready for you to actually download and reuse in the authoring process.
I also like that on the pages, you can bring out only the content that you need. So you don't have to have a confusing page for an ID to figure out, what do I do? They kind of determine what they need, and then they make it happen that way. I like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, me too.
And like I said, I mean, all the different blocks have different functionalities. For example, if in that specific place I needed narration, so I started describing the different paragraphs for my narration. And what you can do also, you can start leaving notes to the narrator. So in this specific page, I added a note to the narrator, and I can also start describing the narrator. I mean, what type of person do I want? Somebody in the age 30, a male, different style of voice. I can even start adding pronunciation guide. And what's really neat is at the end of the day, once my entire storyboard has been designed and I want to send the audio script to my voice talent, typically, I mean, you will not keep your audio script with your storyboard. Why? Because when it's time to send it to the voice talent, then you need to extract it. It's copy and paste work. You don't want to do that. But the drawback to that is that sometimes if you change the storyboard and you forget to change the audio script, so sometimes they're not in sync anymore. So at least in Xunto, you can have it at the same place. And what's really neat is at the end of the day, you go and you can actually export the audio script. So basically, it creates a PDF that you can send to your voice talent, and it describes you have the entire pronunciation guides for all the different text that needs to be recorded. And for each page, then you have the page, the name, the description, and you have the audio script. And which is nice is that if you allow that voice talent to have access to your system, then you can go back and you can click on the link provided in the PDF, and then it will bring him in that specific page where you can actually upload the final narration. And from that moment on, I mean, it's inside that storyboard, and the customer or whoever wants can even listen to them directly in the storyboard.
Nice.
That sounds, I just love it that it's all together. And what I also like is that you've actually put in a pronunciation guide. When I was at the Learning Technologies Awards a couple of weeks ago, and the audience were getting a bit noisy. You'll like this one, Rick. The audience were getting a bit noisy, and I just said, see you lot out there, will you just hud your whisht? And it's it's an old-fashioned Scottish term, which mean hold your air, be quiet. And then the Scottish people in the audience burst out laughing. But the number of people that came to me afterwards and said, what was it you said? How did you pronounce it? It worked well because everybody was quiet. And I said, had your whoosh, because with noise, all that comes out is
That's funny. Audience control.
But if you're doing things that have got a dialect, if you're doing things where I can imagine in some things, particularly if you're in working in Canada, where you've got you're working in French and English, pronunciation is actually incredibly important because it actually goes down to the credibility that you have with your audience.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I'm thinking of the collaboration ability because that is one of the weak points in the whole instructional design process, getting the collaboration or getting the communication correct and making sure it also still winds up in your document, not in 400 other emails.
Yeah, and like I said, that's really what we want. We want to avoid people having to look for information in different sources. I mean, we want one single source of truth.
Yep.
And I remember at some point, Rick, when Ian was there before, you were curious about exporting, and this is what we have now. Yep. So basically, you can actually export the storyboard, and it will create a kind of a PDF version of it. So you have the mock-up that you have, and then you have the on-screen text, the production notes, narration, and that for every single page that you have.
No, which is really nice because a lot of times the vendors don't provide, even internal people don't provide that to the clients. So when it comes time to, they say, do you have the documentation for that course we did? No. And so we always provide that. And it's sometimes tedious to try to get it out of, let's say, a Storyline or a Captivate. You have to modify it. Then you look and go, oh, God, we missed something. We got to go back and find that extra VO that changed. It's very tedious. So you're right. This would centralize a lot of that tedium, so you don't have to go looking for all that. It's right there. I like that. I like the approach.
Yeah, me too. And I
And
just
something
like
that we
it
did
that it's
also.
all in one place.
Sorry, Leslie.
No, I say I like it that it's all in one place. You know,
Mhm.
it's almost like I know there's the thing about KISS, you know, keep it simple, stupid. But what you've actually done is taken something that's actually very complex and put it all in the one place to keep it simple.
Yeah, because not only is it complex, it's very error prone. I mean, we've all been in development, and there's so many little pieces that sometimes
Yeah.
things get away from you. And the collaboration and communication part isn't always the easiest between users and also speaking of users, you have review capabilities, if I recall correctly.
Review capabilities. I mean, you can comment on the different portion, but I mean, maybe you that's what you're implying. I mean, we do have a preview kind of tool. Is that what
No,
you're
I
hinting
thought
to?
I may be wrong, but I thought that, for example, let's say you do your storyboard, the end user could actually come and review it or make comments.
But definitely, I mean, the end user can go inside the tool and make comments. But I mean,
Yes.
what we have also is that the end user is not necessarily interested into seeing all the different production notes and graphic terminology. So what we did is that we did create a kind of a preview of the storyboard that can be navigated by the user. So you will see the image, you can see the on-screen text, you can even toggle the narration on the side, and then you can start navigating. So you can actually experiment the flow of the training firsthand, and that probably can help also people make the customer approve the training. So it's they will experience the flow. And what we want to do eventually, we want actually to allow people to comment from that specific view. So yes, eventually it's going to be there, but for the moment, I mean, you can actually preview it. But if you want to comment on it, you need to comment from inside the tool itself.
Yeah, we often tell our clients, don't have 40 people review it. Have one or two or three, because otherwise it's mass chaos. The minute other people get involved from other departments, everybody has their own view of something and nobody communicates with each other. So it becomes, here we go. Now there's 40 people reviewing what 2 people came up with. And that can create more costs, more expense. And we try to avoid that kind of situation, because then you wind up in a circle of nonstop changes, because everybody's changing as they go. And that's one of the issues. It's always been an issue with e-learning, of how many changes people want after the fact. We used to always go in, and I've given talks on this, that your storyboard is your blueprint. Just like an architect, if you're building a house, your storyboard is the blueprint. You can't change it in the middle, because your house may change. Now, if you have the time, money, or ability to do so, okay. But otherwise, it creates a lot of problems if you change in the middle, especially if you've done voice, or if you've done this, and then they go, I forgot something. And it's a big thing. So that's always been an issue with storyboarding, and just with it's client management, really, of getting them to understand that scripts are important. And once you're done, don't change them right away. Do a version 2. Do something else, unless it's really that much of an emergency. Have you found that to be the case also, Yves?
Definitely, and that's why we did that. I mean, and the fact that we also have the kind of the status. I mean, then when the clients approve it, then you can put it in a completion form, and then you can start production on it.
Yep.
So definitely, I mean, customers always coming back. And also, what can help you? I mean, sometimes you send something to a customer and they might change it and send it back to you, and not sure what did change. This is something also that we did. We created a tool for that. For example, that's a storyboard. You ask your customer to take a look at it and approve it. And if you allow it to change stuff, I mean, you need to be aware of what changed. And what we have kind of an history mode. So basically, you can go in time and take a kind of a range of dates and figure out, okay, what did change in that specific time frame, and then you can look at the storyboard at that specific time. So you can start. We don't have a side-by-side comparison yet, but eventually we will do. But at least you can go back in time and see what the storyboard was at that specific time. So if something changed and you want to go back.
Yeah. What
Sorry,
I
Leslie?
also liked, Yves, no, what I also liked was, a couple of slides back, it said, 2 of 6 or 2 of whatever. And because somebody will say, yeah, but I want to bring in this. And you can then say, yeah, but that's on the next slide. That's on the next bit, so people can actually see that it's built up. They're not expecting to see everything on the one page. It's a number of pages.
Yeah, exactly. So beside that, we also have the capability. If you have a team that have maybe senior IDs and you want the senior ID to create templates, you can even do that. So, okay, right now I don't have any templates in that project, but if let me go back to a different project. For example, in my Scratchpad, if I go to the template, so maybe I'm the senior ID and I decided to create templates. This is an introduction page. This is a conclusion page, and this is maybe a tab content. So you can create these templates that you can reuse over and over again inside the system. And something that I didn't show, which is really nice also, is that sometimes you have an activity and that activity has different states. And in the storyboard, it's difficult to show those different states within the same storyboard. So you end up doing 3 different pages in Word or PowerPoint that are supposed to be the same activity. But in that case, you can actually start and doing it in one single page. So you see that I have 3 different mock-up. This is a tab activity. So I have an image that will show me what the state of the tab 1 is. Then I can show the state of the tab 2 is, and then I can show the state of the tab 3. Yeah. And I can start using my blocks. And what's really nice also in our tool is that you can start and you can actually name your blocks. So for example, this is tab 1, but I could call it whatever I want. And it can make reference to the mockup. So you have a link between the different blocks and the images, and you can have multiple states within the storyboard. So it allows you to describe more complex activities that have states in them. So this is something that you can do. So you can actually create the template for that, and then within a course, so you go to storyboard, and for example, I'm going to this lesson, and I just add my template from there. So I can decide to add different templates. I want the introduction, I want the conclusion, import them. So they are now inside your storyboard, and you can have the more junior ID filling in the blanks from that point on.
I love it. I really like it. Maybe it's just me that I'm quite an organized person. So I like, a place for everything and everything in its place. And what you've done is you've put everything together in one place, but made it easy to move it around and drag and drop. And so you're encouraging communication and collaboration. Love it.
I've never seen her be this happy before. This is good.
No, I like things like this.
Yeah, it is. It's exciting. I agree.
Yeah.
But when we demoed it at DevLearn, people were really excited. A lot of people were like you, Leslie. They were really excited to see that we actually were able to create an environment that allows people to create their own storyboard, not based on some templates. They're specific storyboard to them, so they really enjoyed that. And there's also Joe Gansey that did a review last week or 2 weeks ago about it. It's inside Learning Solution magazine, so he did a review about the tool as well, and it kind of was a positive review. Joe liked the different tools that we put in, and he was very encouraged to see the tool.
That's great. Why don't you come on back to
sure.
to your image, and now we talked also at the show. This is actually based on the Amazon Web Services, I think.
The data is hosted on web service Amazon. Yeah.
Yep. So you have unlimited, basically, growth potential with this. You can
Oh
have
yeah.
unlimited
That's
clients.
what's nice about Amazon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice solution, very nice solution, and it's exciting to see where it's going. Well, actually, in the last 2 years since we saw it, it's really changed quite a bit. It's quite
I mean,
different. I like the new approach. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, we basically rebuilt it from the ground up. We even went and redid the entire UI because it was not user-friendly enough, the previous version. So we decided to spend more time and make sure that it was easy to use. And also, even on the technical side, we wanted it to be able to recreate the storyboard at any point in time. So that's what we did. We created an architecture that would allow us to do that. And it's really nice because every operation you do on the storyboard is basically being recorded in our system, which allows us later on to create maybe reports that will tell you specific data. For example, in the audio block, you can see the time, the number of words in the narration, and the kind of an estimation of the time that it would take to pronounce that audio script. What we can do is that we can basically scan the entire storyboards and give you all the different time for all the entire storyboard. It allows us to do a lot of things, and people then will come with suggestions about features. I mean, chances are that we'll be able to implement them rather quickly.
That's great.
Excellent.
Very nice. Well, we are at the end of our time. And Yves, we're going to have a link at the bottom of the show notes so people can go to your website. And also, if anybody wants to reach you, is it easiest to go through your website?
Definitely, yes.
Okay.
Just go to our website. We have kind of a contact us page, and just reach out from there, and we'll definitely come back to you.
Now, you didn't tell us, I remember what it means, but what does Xunto mean?
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. Actually, it's a Galician word that means together. So that we thought it was really representative of the type of tool that we wanted to build.
Yeah, that's cool. Very nice. Well, anyway, Yves,
the only problem is that people are not sure how to pronounce it. That's the only drawback.
I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. I say Xunto.
Yeah, I think people.
And you said it a little bit differently.
People say Xunto, and I think but the real pronunciation, I think the exact pronunciation is more like Xunto.
Xunto, yeah.
Yeah, but people say Xunto, so.
Yeah, because when I first read it, I thought it was more Portuguese or Brazilian. That's why I was going, is that? But then you said it was Galician. Well, again, they're all derivatives of the same language, or how everybody says it differently. I remember I went to Spain once, and I was there for about a month in the Canary Islands, and I had trouble understanding what half the people were saying because it's a very different dialect from almost any other place I've ever been that was Spanish. There's just different ways, and the lisp is very pronounced when you're in Spain, where you don't hear it as much in other places. So it was interesting to be there, but it was nice. So anyway, definitely, if you're watching the show, take a look at what he has done. Yves is quite talented, and this is a great solution. I think as it evolves, it's going to become even better. So, invest in new software. It makes it become better. That's always a good thing. So, I think you've come up with a great idea, and I'm so glad to see that it's now come to life. So that's, congratulations on that, and we look forward to future success from you on this. And
really, really interesting. Really interesting.
So
yeah, we really want to make it a tool that the community will be using and will find useful. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for being a good friend throughout the years, and just doing good work for the industry. We need that.
Thank you.
We do need that. If you're watching the show,
nice
please.
To meet you.
Yeah.
Me too, Leslie.
And remember, if you're watching the show, Leslie liked this. Keep that in mind. If she likes something, it's good.
And Leslie's fussy.
Leslie's fussy, yeah. She wants good quality, not just anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, have a good one, everyone. Do we have any shows next week? I think we do. So I was going to say, well, you know what? Happy holidays in case we don't, but I think we do. So we will see you next week on the next eLearn Chat. Have a good one, everyone. Thanks. Thanks again, Yves.
Okay, bye, everyone.
Thank you.